The containment facility's biomonitors screamed alerts across 3 separate displays as Dr. Indigo Nakamura's 6 hands danced across the emergency control matrix. The apex predator in cell block 7 was showing unprecedented neural activity spikes, aggression indicators that had preceded every single fatality across the research network. 3 backup systems had failed in the past hour, and the maintenance access panel to the creature's life support grid sat squarely inside its containment zone. Nakamura's chromatophores flashed deep amber with stress as she reviewed the cascade of system failures. The creature codenamed Shadow Maw had killed 47 research personnel across 3 facilities in the past galactic standard year. Every interaction followed the same pattern: approach, investigate, annihilate. The beast's adaptive capabilities had rendered conventional containment increasingly unreliable, forcing the research station into emergency protocols none of them had hoped to use. "Status report," she barked into her comm, her secondary arms never pausing their calibration of the bioscanners. "All automated maintenance systems are down," came the response from Central Operations. The power coupling failure cascaded through the entire sub-level grid. "We need manual intervention within the next 2 hours, or we'll lose primary containment." Nakamura's tertiary heart skipped. Manual intervention meant sending someone into the cell with Shadow Maw. "What's the nearest qualified technician's ETA?" 14 hours minimum. The specialist team is responding to the Proxima station breach." 14 hours? Her voice climbed an octave. "We don't have 14 minutes if that power grid fails completely." "There is 1 maintenance technician currently on station," Operations continued hesitantly. "But it's the human." Nakamura's chromatophores went completely white. The human? Of course. The humans had this inexplicable tendency to take the most dangerous, undesirable jobs in the galaxy and treat them like minor inconveniences. This particular human had been working maintenance contracts across the outer research stations for 6 standard months, consistently choosing assignments that sent every other species running for safer employment. "Send them down," she said after a moment of calculating impossible odds. At least someone would witness Shadow Maw's feeding patterns up close before the containment failed entirely. 20 minutes later, Marlowe Cross stepped off the maintenance lift wearing standard-issue coveralls and carrying what appeared to be an ancient cleaning cart loaded with brushes, spray bottles, and some kind of motorized floor buffer. She was humming something melodic and completely off-key. "So," Marlowe said, checking her tablet with the casual air of someone reviewing a grocery list. "Locked room with angry alien pet. This is hazard pay territory, right? Not trying to be greedy, just want to make sure I'm filling out the overtime forms correctly." Nakamura stared at the human through the observation deck's reinforced viewing panel. The creature was everything the reports had described and worse. Nearly 3 meters of sleek, dark muscle built for killing, with sensory organs that could track prey across dimensional barriers and claws that had shredded through every containment material they'd tested. Its latest neural readings showed the same predatory focus spikes that had preceded the massacre at Research Station Beta. "You understand," Nakamura said carefully, "that this organism has a 100% fatality rate for direct contact?" "Yeah, I read the briefing." Marlowe was now examining her cleaning supplies with professional interest. "Kepler 442b apex predator, right? Solitary hunter, territorial, basically a really big alien cat with anger management issues. Do the vending machines on sub-level 12 take standard credits, or do I need those weird hexagonal tokens?" "You're asking about vending machines." "Well, yeah. If I'm stuck down there for a few hours, I'm gonna get hungry. Plus, I always work better with snacks." Marlowe signed the liability waivers with the same attention she might give to a restaurant check. Standard stuff, not responsible for dismemberment, death, or complete molecular dissolution. You guys really need to update your legal templates. Half this stuff hasn't been a workplace hazard since the mining wars. Nakamura watched in growing horror as the human began her final equipment check. This was like watching someone prepare for a picnic before walking into a supernova. The creature's behavioral patterns indicate it will investigate any new presence within approximately 43 seconds of entry. Following investigation, it will attack. Yeah, I got it. Marlowe hefted a bottle of what appeared to be industrial cleaning solvent. Honestly, sounds like most of the wildlife back in Michigan. You should see what comes out of Lake Superior during spawning season. The containment door cycled open with a soft hiss, and Marlowe Cross walked into the cell like she was entering her own living room. Nakamura's biomonitors immediately registered Shadowmaw's response. Neural activity spiked to predatory focus levels. Muscular tension increased to pouncing readiness. Pheromone output shifted to hunting mode. Every single indicator screamed that the human had less than 30 seconds to live. Shadowmaw emerged from its resting alcove with fluid grace that somehow made it even more terrifying. 3 meters of perfect evolutionary killing machine, its hide shifting colors to match the shadows as sensory tendrils tested the air. The creature's 4 eyes locked onto Marlowe with the focused intensity that had preceded every previous attack. "Hey there, buddy," Marlowe said, plugging in her floor buffer. "Don't mind me, just got some scuff marks to handle. Whoever designed these maintenance shafts clearly never met a proper mop bucket." She began cleaning, humming that same off-key melody. Nakamura's instruments went haywire. Shadowmaw's neural patterns shifted. The predatory focus remained, but something else was layering over it, curiosity indicators. The creature approached Marlowe with its head tilted at an angle that suggested investigation rather than attack preparation. "This doesn't match any documented behavioral patterns," Nakamura muttered, rapidly cross-referencing every study in the database. According to 47 previous encounters, Shadowmaw should have already begun its feeding sequence. Instead, the creature sat down approximately 2 meters from Marlowe and watched her work. "That's a good boy," Marlowe said without looking up from a particularly stubborn stain. "I know it's weird having someone in your space, but I'll be out of your way soon as I get these systems back online." Man, when was the last time anyone cleaned in here? This is like 3 layers of industrial grime. Shadowmaw's sensory tendrils began moving in slow, rhythmic patterns. Nakamura had never seen anything like it in the behavioral documentation. "The pheromone signatures aren't matching any known response categories," she reported to Central Operations. "It's like the creature is processing something it doesn't understand." Marlowe had moved on to the power coupling housing, working with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd performed this repair hundreds of times. Her cleaning cart made soft mechanical sounds as she organized her tools, and she kept up a steady stream of one-sided conversation. "You know what this reminds me of? My neighbor back on Earth had this Rottweiler meanest-looking thing you ever saw. Everyone in the neighborhood was scared of it. But turns out it was just lonely. Previous owner never socialized it properly, so it didn't know how to be around people. Once you learned to read its signals, sweetest dog you'd ever meet." Shadowmaw moved closer. Not stalking. Nakamura knew what Shadowmaw's hunting approach looked like. This was something else, entirely. The creature positioned itself where it could observe Marlowe's work while maintaining what almost looked like a respectful distance. "The neural readings are completely outside normal parameters," Nakamura reported, her voice climbing with confusion. "It's like the creature is experiencing something it has no behavioral template for." Marlowe was deep in the repair work now, both arms inside the power coupling housing. "Okay, there's your problem. Someone installed the backup relay with residential-grade shielding. No wonder it keeps overloading. Hold on, I need to..." She reached deeper into the mechanism and there was a sharp crack of electricity. Ow! Damn! Marlowe pulled her hand back and Nakamura could see blood welling from a jagged cut across her palm. Okay, that's gonna need some attention. Every alarm in Nakamura's head went off at once. Blood in the containment cell. Shadowmaw's predatory instincts would activate immediately. The creature's feeding response to injured prey was documented as instantaneous and overwhelming. Shadowmaw stood up. Nakamura's hand hovered over the emergency extraction protocols, knowing she'd never activate them in time. The creature approached Marlowe with purpose, and every biomonitor screamed imminent attack. Shadowmaw gently took Marlowe's injured hand in its massive jaws and began to lick the wound. What ... Nakamura's instruments told her something impossible was happening. Shadowmaw's saliva was interacting with human biochemistry in ways that contradicted every known xenobiological principle. The creature's mouth wasn't designed for medical care. It was built for tearing and crushing. Yet somehow, impossibly, Marlowe's wound was healing. Huh, Marlowe said, watching her hand with mild interest. That's handy. Like having a first aid kit with teeth. You're a good boy, aren't you? Yes, you are. She scratched behind one of Shadowmaw's sensory clusters with her uninjured hand, and the creature made a sound Nakamura had never heard before. A deep, deep rumbling vibration that her instruments couldn't classify. The wound is completely healed, Nakamura reported to operations, her voice hollow with disbelief. I'm reading complete cellular regeneration. The creature's saliva appears to have activated some kind of advanced healing response, but only in reaction to human biochemistry. This is impossible. Shadowmaw had settled back into its watching position, but now it was closer to Marlowe, occasionally making that strange rumbling sound when she spoke to it. Poor thing's been lonely, haven't you? Marlowe continued her work, now with a creature the size of a small transport following her around the cell like an enormous deadly puppy. All these researchers coming in with their fear pheromones and clinical detachment. You just wanted someone to talk to, didn't you? The behavioral readings don't match anything in our database, Nakamura muttered, frantically running calculations. It's like the creature is experiencing emotions we don't have instruments to measure. Marlowe had finished the primary repair and was now doing what she called preventive maintenance, cleaning and organizing the entire power grid with obsessive thoroughness. Shadowmaw watched every movement with what could only be described as fascination. You know, Marlowe said, testing the restored systems. Back home, we had this whole industry around animal psychology. Turns out most aggressive animals are just scared or bored or trying to communicate something nobody's listening to. Have you guys tried enrichment activities, mental stimulation? She began arranging her cleaning supplies in complex patterns on the floor, and Shadowmaw immediately became engaged, using its sensory tendrils to explore the makeshift puzzle. This is unprecedented, Nakamura breathed. The creature is displaying play behaviors. In 47 previous encounters, we never observed anything remotely resembling recreational activity. Everything okay up there? Marlowe called toward the observation deck. You sound a little stressed. The creature is not behaving according to any established parameters. Oh, that. Marlowe glanced at Shadowmaw, who was now carefully manipulating cleaning brushes with the same precision it used to dismember prey. Yeah, I figured that out about 10 minutes ago. You guys have been approaching this all wrong. All wrong? Well, yeah. You keep calling it a predator, treating it like some kind of mindless killing machine. But look at those eyes. There's serious intelligence there. And the way it moves, the way it responds to vocal tones. This isn't a predator at all. It's a social creature that's been isolated and clinically studied for who knows how long. Of course it's defensive. Nakamura felt something fundamental shift in her understanding. 47 deaths. 47 encounters where researchers had approached Shadow Maw as a specimen to be contained rather than a being to be understood. The fatalities, she said slowly, weren't predatory attacks. Defense responses, Marlowe confirmed, now sitting cross-legged on the floor while Shadow Maw arranged cleaning supplies in increasingly complex patterns. Classic fear-aggression cycle. Back on Earth, we see it all the time with rescue animals. They're not mean, they're scared. And scared animals defending themselves can be just as dangerous as actual predators. Central operations crackled through the comm. Doctor. Nakamura, we're reading massive changes in the creature's biosignatures. Should we initiate emergency extraction? Nakamura looked at the scene below. Marlowe was showing Shadow Maw how to use the floor buffer, and the creature was learning with obvious delight, its neural reading showing patterns of curiosity and engagement that shouldn't have been possible in a solitary apex predator. Negative, she said. Continue monitoring, but do not interfere. I think that's got the main system stabilized, Marlowe announced, standing up and dusting off her coveralls. The backup relay should handle standard loads now, but you'll want to upgrade to industrial-grade shielding before anyone tries heavy manufacturing down here. She looked at Shadow Maw, who was still playing with the floor buffer. You're gonna miss me when I go, aren't you? The creature made that rumbling sound again, more pronounced this time, and moved closer to Marlowe. Yeah, I know, buddy. Tell you what. Marlowe pulled a small device from her toolkit and tossed it to Shadow Maw, who caught it with startling gentleness. Sonic screwdriver. Not much good for anything, but it makes interesting sounds. Should keep you entertained until I can convince the management to get you some proper enrichment. Shadow Maw immediately began exploring the device with its sensory tendrils, producing soft harmonic tones that seemed to fascinate it completely. Enrichment, Nakamura called down. Mental stimulation, social interaction, environmental variety, basic stuff for intelligent social species. You can't just lock someone in a bare room and expect them to stay psychologically healthy. Marlowe began packing her equipment. I mean, you guys must have protocols for that sort of thing, right? Nakamura realized with growing horror that they didn't. Every containment protocol had been designed around the assumption that Shadow Maw was a solitary killing machine. The possibility that it might be a social creature requiring companionship and mental stimulation had never been considered. The research applications alone, she muttered, rapidly calculating the implications. If humans can naturally communicate with species we've classified as non-contact dangerous, we'll need to completely revisit our entire xenobiological database. Marlowe finished loading her cart and headed toward the containment door. Shadow Maw followed her to the threshold but didn't attempt to leave, making soft vocalizations that sounded remarkably like distress calls. I know, but I've got 3 more maintenance calls this shift, and apparently there's a whole wing of dangerous creatures that need attention. She paused at the door. Hey, Doctor. Nakamura? You might want to consider getting this guy some company. Maybe start with some of those lower-threat social species from the same planet. I bet they'd get along great. The containment door sealed behind her, and Nakamura watched Shadow Maw settle by the threshold, still clutching the sonic screwdriver and making those soft rumbling sounds. Operations? She said into her comm, her voice shaky with the magnitude of what she'd witnessed. I need emergency consultation with the Xenobiological Ethics Committee. Also, get me the complete behavioral profiles for every species we've classified as dangerous, but intelligent. And... She paused, watching Shadow Maw carefully arrange Marlowe's impromptu toys. And send a message to all research facilities. Any species showing defensive aggression patterns should be evaluated for potential social needs before implementing standard containment protocols. Understood. Anything else? Nakamura looked at her instruments, still showing Shadowmaw's neural patterns, complex, intelligent social patterns that bore no resemblance to the apex predator profiles they'd been using. Yes. Send a formal request to have the human added to our permanent consultation staff, and ask if she's available for immediate assignment to our high-risk containment levels. The human wants to work with more dangerous creatures. Apparently, Nakamura began composing what would become the most important xenobiological report of her career. And given what I've observed today, I suspect she's exactly what our dangerous creatures have been waiting for. Down in cell block 7, Shadowmaw had created an elaborate pattern with Marlowe's cleaning supplies and was making soft, content sounds as it played with the sonic screwdriver. For the first time since its capture, the creature's bio-reading showed no stress indicators at all. Somewhere 3 levels up, Marlowe Cross was humming her way toward the next maintenance emergency, completely unaware that she'd just revolutionized xenobiological research. Her biggest concern was whether the cafeteria would still be open when she finished her shift. The universe, as it had a habit of doing around humans, had become a slightly kinder place without anyone particularly trying to make it so.